I could hardly process what had just unfolded. Truthfully, I would never have accepted any part of it if my own daughter hadn't been standing right there before me, shaking uncontrollably, her voice breaking apart, while tears streamed down her face as though they had been held back for years and finally received permission to escape. She appeared like someone who had barely escaped a terrifying dream, only to have it overtake her and seize her by the ankle once more. Karen had completely lost control and gone into a full meltdown, and the most unsettling thing was that none of this came as a shock. It felt almost as if the universe had chosen this moment to reveal exactly how extreme that woman could become. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Be sure to like and subscribe for your daily dose of top-tier HOA drama. Before we explore this story any further, drop a comment telling us which country or which city you're watching from. We'd really enjoy knowing how widely this tale is spreading. Karen had always behaved this way, loud, domineering, and intoxicated by a sense of authority that existed only in her mind, as if she had been drinking HOA power cocktails from the day she was born. She paraded through the neighborhood like a broken traffic signal, always blinking erratically, always disoriented, and always stirring up trouble. I had lived there for some time with my daughter Trisha, who, unlike Karen's miniature version of herself, actually possessed good manners and ambitions that stretched far beyond throwing public fits. By chance, Trisha was in the same class as Karen's son Tyler. He was a kind boy, sadly being raised by a walking whirlwind. Prom season came around and Tyler, with his hopeful spirit, invited Trisha to be his date. But she had already committed to someone else several weeks earlier, so she kindly declined his offer. It was a typical teenage matter. Ordinary teenage matter, the kind of thing any reasonable parent would simply overlook. But not Karen. Absolutely not. This woman interpreted the word no as a direct assault on her entire family line. So when Tyler returned home and shared what happened, Karen apparently viewed it as an act of open hostility. All at once, she began marching through the neighborhood like Godzilla wearing yoga pants, searching for a target to punish. And unfortunately for me, that target became my own front door. Trisha had no idea any of this was building. She was occupied with studying for her final exams while I was busy pretending the dark clouds gathering above Karen's bleached blonde hair didn't exist. But I should have recognized the warning signs. You cannot simply disregard a storm of that magnitude. It will always discover a way to shatter through. Nothing stayed the same after Karen learned that Tyler had been rejected. It was as though someone had ignited a firework beneath her pride, and the blast reverberated across the whole neighborhood. The following morning, she stormed directly to my front step and pounded on the door so violently that the doorbell surrendered any attempt to compete. The instant I opened it, she launched into a loud theatrical rant without pausing for breath, accusing my daughter of humiliating her beloved son. I simply stood there, still half asleep and bewildered, struggling to comprehend why a grown woman would care so intensely about a high school prom invitation. I quietly inquired why she was interfering in a matter that did not concern her at all, rather than responding like a rational person. She inflated her chest and snarled that she would ensure both me and Trisha would pay dearly for it. She delivered the threat with the absolute certainty of someone declaring a national emergency. I knew she tended toward drama, yet this reached an entirely new plateau of absurdity. From that point onward, the fines began arriving non-stop like junk emails after registering on a dubious site. She penalized me because my grass was a quarter-inch too long. She penalized me because my garbage can sat a shade too near the curb. She even penalized me for a single leaf that she insisted had drifted from my yard onto hers. She elevated pettiness to the level of an Olympic event. Then she escalated things even more. She approached me once again and insisted that Trisha must never talk to Tyler, never walk near Tyler, never breathe near Tyler, or even occupy the same general space as Tyler. I attempted to explain that teenagers recover from these things quickly and that all this fuss was pointless, but she refused to listen to anything. She distorted every word I uttered into an offense, warping the truth as if she were shaping dough out of raw fantasy. I could see the pressure settling heavily on Trisha. She tried to appear strong, but she started avoiding Karen's house, avoiding walking by herself, avoiding anything that might trigger another one of Karen's outbursts. I despise seeing her diminish herself due to another person's insanity. That was the moment I understood the conflict was escalating more quickly than I had anticipated, and unless I found a method to stabilize the situation, Karen was going to pull the entire neighborhood into turmoil. I understood I needed to manage things thoughtfully, not only for my own peace of mind, but to demonstrate to Trisha how to confront difficulties without getting swallowed by the insanity. Therefore, one evening I sat her down and proposed an idea that I sincerely believed might ease the tension. I advised her to walk over to Karen's house, offer a sincere apology, and clarify that she had intended no offense. Perhaps, just perhaps, if Karen witnessed genuine remorse, she might finally recover a small shred of good judgment. Trisha, with her kind-hearted nature, consented immediately. If I had realized what would follow, I would never have allowed her to go by herself. She strolled along the sidewalk full of assurance, quietly practicing the words she planned to use. Completely unaware she was heading toward the den of a woman who had obviously lost her sense of decency many years earlier. She tapped lightly on the door, and when it swung open, Karen stood there with her typical frown, appearing as if someone had disturbed her right in the middle of grumbling. Trisha addressed her courteously and started to clarify the situation, but Karen refused to allow her to finish even the second sentence before she lifted her hand and struck a slap so sharp it might have been confused for a firearm discharge in a peaceful neighborhood. My daughter dropped directly to the pavement, dazed, clutching her face in complete shock. She attempted to rise, but before she could steady herself, Karen delivered another slap with even greater force, as though she had been rehearsing the motion in front of a mirror for situations precisely like this one. "I warned your father I never want to see you around my son ever again," she barked, her tone cutting like shattered. And as if the physical attack were not sufficient, the woman retrieved her phone and began filming Trisha, aiming the lens at her as though capturing footage of some dangerous creature. From across the street, James, my neighbor, a composed individual who usually minded his own affairs, observed the entire scene. He rushed over so quickly that he almost stumbled over his own feet. He seized the phone from Karen's grip, took hold of Trisha carefully, and escorted her away from that horrifying encounter. When he brought her into my living room, she was trembling, her cheeks puffed up and mascara running from her tears. She struggled to form sentences, but every phrase she forced out caused my anger to surge even stronger. Listening to the details felt like someone flipped a trigger deep within me. Karen had stepped over the ultimate boundary, yanked it from its foundation, and torched it completely. The instant I noticed Trisha's cheeks vivid red, inflamed, and quivering, I sensed something inside me click into position. There was no shouting, no hysteria. I simply raised my phone and started recording every detail. Her unsteady voice, the distinct handprint impressions on her skin, the tears she continued to brush aside, and James positioned behind her, seething as he described precisely what he had observed. I refused to permit Karen to distort the facts this time. I was collecting proof, solid, irrefutable proof. I phoned the police without delay. When the officers reached the scene and examined Trisha's face, their faces shifted immediately. James provided his complete statement, recounting both strikes and Karen filming her afterward. The officers proceeded directly to Karen's residence. She attempted to act blameless, but the moment they informed her she was being taken into custody, her arrogance vanished. Karen was arrested right there. The accusations against her included assault, battery, child endangerment, harassment, disorderly conduct, and invasion of privacy for filming a minor without permission. Since it involved multiple physical blows, the officer cautioned her that the incident might warrant stricter penalties, potentially leading to imprisonment. I reached out to my attorney straight afterward. We submitted a civil lawsuit demanding compensation for medical care, emotional distress, harassment, and Karen's prolonged misuse of HOA power. He projected that she would be responsible for tens of thousands in payments in addition to legal costs and possible HOA penalties. And once examiners dug further, it became evident she had been exploiting her position for years, an issue the board could no longer overlook. Neighbors assembled outdoors as the officers loaded her into the rear of the squad car. Some recorded video, some murmured among themselves, some simply shook their heads in astonishment. Trisha remained next to me, gripping my hand firmly, observing the woman who had attempted to bully her confront genuine accountability for the first time. Karen no longer held any power. Reality had finally overtaken her. The end. Do you believe she received what she deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below.